All right, what's up guys? I'm Heath, this is Forged America. This video is gonna be for all of you out there who've been asking me to do some more tutorial videos on some of the hacks that I've found while working with our leather. Today, I'm gonna be talking specifically about leather stitching. How to make a really cool leather stitch and a way to speed up your stitching process. All right, so one thing everybody always asks about leather is why does that leather cost so much? Whether you're the consumer or whether you're the guy selling the leather, there's reasons you have to charge as much as you do in order to make it worth your time to make leather products. One of the biggest things that is time consuming when making leather is the stitch work. It's when you're stitching leather, that's one of the things that adds dollars to the customer. You can buy machines, and there are machines out there that you can purchase to speed up the process. I've looked at some of the stitching from the professional machines. It's not the greatest in the world to me, and I was not a fan of these machines, but I did get my mind changed on the hand operated sewing machines here recently. I never thought I'd be a fan of these things. And even after I got my first one, I went out on a limb, bought one, and even after I did, I was not a fan, and I figured I'd just thrown away $1,700 after I used it a couple times. It works really good. It stitches leather really well. The mechanism itself works great. It's really heavy duty. I'm not gonna go into who I purchased mine from or what kind I have. I'm gonna show you a video in just a minute on the hack that we figured out here to speed up the process and make our stitching look just as good using a hand-operated sewing machine as it does with our hand stitching. First, I want to talk about when you watch these leather videos of these guys who operate these leather hand stitchers, that they're operating them, it looks super easy. I mean, you watch these guys do it. One thing you need to notice though, 90% of the videos I've seen, they're not stitching colored leather. They're not stitching dyed leather. They're stitching just your standard veg tan leather. And it looks great. They go in, they're pulling the lever, they're rolling the wheel, whichever kind they have, whichever kind of video you're watching. And they do that and it makes this beautiful stitch right down there, and it's like, wow, that's it, man. That's what I want. What you don't see in these videos is the back stitch. You don't see what it looks like on the back. And in most cases, if you're making like the leather cuffs I'm wearing here, if you're making, let me take this one off. If you're making them, this was made with our hand sewing machine, with our leather hand operated sewing machine. This is it. The back looks great. The back on this thing, I don't know how well you can see it. I don't know if it's blurry or not. The back looks great. The back looks great because of the hack that I'm going to show you guys in just a minute that is going to save you time. It's going to allow you to use a hand sewing machine and still keep a top quality product. When I got mine, hooked it up, got it going, made a really clean stitch. It was really easy to hook up. I think most of these are pretty easy to set up. What I'm going to show you in just a minute on how we do it is we'll work on any hand-driven sewing machine that's made for leather. I don't know how you would do it with an automatic, with an electric sewing machine. I'm not sure how you would do that, and I might try that down the line when I'm ready to spend that much money on a hand sewing machine. So it's fine and dandy. It's all fine and good if you're doing cuffs and things like that. It's all fine and good if the leather doesn't look as good on the back, because the customer's not really going to be looking at that. As long as the top stitch looks great, and it looked fine when we did it on the pieces. It's just when you come into products that like these wallets that we do, this is one of our biggest sellers, and I really wanted to be able to get these wallets out there more. Problem is, it just takes so much time. I mean, a wallet like this is just our minimalist wallet. This is the easiest one we sew. A product like this, a wallet like this, would take us anywhere from 12 to 13 minutes to sew, start to finish. Now, this one right here was, like I said, it was sewn with our hand sewing machine. This one right here, under 2 minutes. This thing came together just like that. Made a beautiful stitch. You can see it. I mean, I don't know how well you can see that, but the back looks fantastic. Front, I mean, it's gorgeous. All right, so let's talk about what is involved when you use a hand-operated leather sewing machine. One of the things you have to do, no matter what you're doing when it comes to sewing leather, you have to line up the pieces. The pieces have to be lined up. A lot of people use, once you get it cut, I use lasers to cut, engrave, and to even cut out the holes in our, if you see here, here's one I haven't done yet, the holes in the, I don't know how well you can see that, but I use, the laser actually punches my holes right there. So it will actually punch them out for me. What I'm about to show you works with whether you're using lasers, no matter what you're using, to punch your holes. A lot of you are sitting there thinking right now, he's fixing to talk about stitching through these holes using a hand stitcher and how long it's going to take. That is exactly what I'm about to tell you. When I first got my leather sewing machine, I just got it a few weeks ago. When I first started using it, I still had to line everything up, and it was actually going to take me a little bit longer. I figured out lining it all up and starting to use it to go through these cuffs. The cuffs was great. I mean, it was no problem. I still had to line it up. And the issue is, though, keeping it in line, keeping a straight stitch was really hard to do. It came with a guard. I mean, I bought the guard extra. Then I think most of these things have guards that you can purchase. Mine, I had to purchase it extra, and I purchased it because you want to be able to have that straight stitch line. So I got going with it, and it worked pretty good. But when you have a product and you're going along the edge and you have to turn it, the guard's not going to work. From all the hand leather sewing machines I've seen, you're only going to be able to do that guard, use that guard on two sides, and it's not going to work on that side where the leather's laying this way up against the guard. Now, the way people keep their lines straight is they buy something like this. This is a stitch groover where you go along the edge and you make the little stitch line. You line up all your leather, you set it down and onto your sewing machine, and you stitch it up. You pull a little lever and it puts the needle through. All right, so here's some problems with that. One of the things that makes the leather look bad on the back when you stitch it is when the needle goes through, it goes through clean on the top, but on the bottom, it kind of cuts through it. And when I say it just kind of cuts through it, it leaves, you can see the inside of the leather a little bit. It gives a non-professional look. It's not a professional look. It looks like it's just torn through it. I even bought some extra needles. The ones that came with my machine were a diamond shape on the tip, and I was told that, man, yes, it's just cutting through your leather. You might want to get a more rounded tip. So I did that. It helped a little bit, but not much. So I'm back to square one with it. I'm sitting there thinking, I've wasted all this money and it's not going to work. I really wish I could just return the thing, but I don't like giving up that easy. I knew there was hope for this thing. I knew there was a way to do it. So I just went back to my old school ways. I went ahead, instead of making the line and lining it all up, and it's really hard to line up when you don't have your guide holes to guide you along to see where to put your stitches. So instead of, I tried using that. I paid 80 bucks for it. I tried using it, and it was okay, but it was hard lining up the top piece. I don't have a top piece. It was hard lining up the top piece with that to make sure that everything lined up symmetrically. So I just went back and used my laser to drill the holes like I did before in the top piece and the bottom piece. Used my little bit of glue, went around the edges, put it on there, and then I've got this piece. Okay, so now I've got my straight line. You got your straight lines on all sides that you can see where you're stitching. Laid it down. I didn't think it was going to work. I'm like, this is going to take forever. It was a piece of cake. I mean, it was honestly a piece of cake. This thing, as I went through it, it's really easy. These you control with the lever on the hand leather stitchers. You can control where that needle falls, and after 3 or 4 times doing it, I was able to drop that needle right in each hole, and it was going right through each hole, just like butter. I'm going to show you in just a second in the video how fast it works and how well it works. Before I get into the video, I want to let you know, these needles get dull. They'll get dull quick too. I mean, and these things aren't cheap. This process will also keep you from dulling your needle. I mean, because your needle's not actually cutting through the leather, it's going through the hole that's punched. And you don't have to have a laser to do this. Okay, I use lasers, like I said. Some people on here have criticized me about using lasers. I don't really know why. If you use the fork method where you go in and you still want to use your stitch groover and go along and make your stitch line with your stitch groover, and then use your fork to go in and punch your holes, that's all good. You can still do that. As long as you have the hole, however you get it, you can use your hand leather sewing machine to go right through this, and on the back, once you go through it, you get a clean line. It doesn't cut through and tear little pieces of the leather, and you still get a good looking stitch. The stitch on the back is going to be a different stitch. It's going to be a different looking stitch, but it still looks professional. This is a awesome piece. I mean, this is a gorgeous piece. You can see the engraving right there. This is going to Brantley Gilbert. If you don't know who it is, look him up. So let's get into the video a little bit, and I'm going to show you just how fast you can do this, because this is a game changer for me in my business. This has been, I can get up and knock out 3 or 4 pieces in 5 minutes. That was taking me almost an hour, literally almost an hour to do some of the pieces. A piece like this one would take a good 15, 20 minutes start to finish. The bigger wallets we have, 25, 30 minutes. Knock them out now in 3 or 4 minutes, no problem at all. You can see right here, all I'm doing is just dropping that needle right down into the pre-punched hole. That needle just drops right in. I pick the presser foot up just a little bit, just barely raise it up a little bit. I advance it forward with my hand, drop that needle right in the pre-punched hole, lock it in. That's it. This just makes for a much cleaner stitch when using these hand-operated sewing machines. I want to show you right here about how fast you can actually do this. Once you get used to it, you can see right there. I mean, you can speed right through it. This is much faster, much cleaner than hand stitching. It's just much faster. Now at the end, you got 2 choices. You can, right here, you can turn it around and try to do a lock stitch right here and go back into the same hole. But we're not going to do that. I don't like doing that because the lock stitch doesn't always work. Now I've cut it loose. Now what I'm going to do here to finish this off, like I said earlier, you can back it up and try to do a lock stitch right here. See right here? Look at the back of this. The back of this is really clean. Looks really good. If you look at the stitch work here, look at this. I mean, this is really clean stitch work. Really clean, looks really good. I mean, I'm really, really happy with this. Much faster than hand stitching. Right here, a lot of people try and do that lock stitch right here. I don't do the lock stitch by going back. Some pieces I will. Pieces that I have that the back's not going to be showing, pieces like these cuffs that I wear, pieces like that, I'll go ahead and do a lock stitch. The reason I don't like doing a lock stitch on pieces that have a front and back that's going to be exposed, I don't like doing those because it's not very clean looking. What I'll do is go back in with my regular needle and I'll do a cowboy finish stitch right there. Just basically go through on each end, bring this back through up here, same one on the back, tie it off, tuck it down into the side, hammer it shut. You can just go over with your finishing hammer right there on the edge of these things and finish it off. But if you look, very clean stitching. Very clean, looks very good. I'll throw up some pictures at the end of the video to kind of show you how it finished off. But this is gorgeous. I mean, this makes a gorgeous wallet. Much better stitching and much faster. I highly recommend using this. All right, so there it is, you guys. I hope you learned something from the video. Hope you liked the video. I'm going to be putting our link to our webpage so you can see all of our leather work, the kind of stuff that we do at Forged Leather in the description below. Check it out. If you have any questions, comments, comment below. I always answer the comments. I answer all the comments. It might take me a day or two, but I do answer your comments. I do look at your comments. It's how I come up with new content. I don't have a lot of content, I know, but I do want to be able to add more stuff to help you guys out. Till next time, I'm out.